This is what happens when you play with a cat on your lap while wearing a delicate summer top. Hi, I'm Agnès. Welcome to my eclectic channel. I make videos for fun. We've been working on an upcycling project. We're turning a cute summer top into a cute summer dress. So I've cut the sleeves and I do want to transfer a marking. I don't know what's the best way to do it. I'll use my method, but I need to transfer this line here because this is the line that where the sleeve gets gathered. So there will be an elastic band and it'll be gathered here. So I need to transfer that. So I checked and it is an even distance from the bottom hem of exactly 8.8 centimeters, and so that's what I will mark and transfer on the wrong side of both of my sleeves. The first thing I want to do with my sleeves is to work an overlock stitching or serge along the edges, except for the bottom. The bottom will get hemmed, so that's not needed. But the sides and the cap, I'm going to overlock on both. Now these sleeves will get gathered pretty much everywhere. They're puff sleeves. So we want to work some base stitching in order to do this gathering. So one place where it happens is along this line here that we drew when we made the sleeves. And then also the whole sleeve cap. It's going to get gathered before it gets set into the armholes. Next, you need to find yourself some elastic and measure around where the sleeve is going to land and cut the proper length. You want, with elastic, you always want to have it so that it's a little tight but not too tight. That was a completely useless statement. Alright, so this is what needs to happen next. This elastic goes where we marked and where we put the line of base stitching. Why did I do a line of base stitching? Because when you're setting in an elastic, you set it on top of the fabric and you stretch your elastic and you feed to the machine that way. And then once you let it go, it'll gather the fabric very nicely. The problem we have here is that the elastic stretches this much and the sleeve is that wide. So this is why we did this row of base stitching, because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-gather, and I don't need to gather all the way. That'd be really difficult. So I'm going to gather enough so that it will be, my sleeve will become, the length or the width of my sleeve will correspond to my fully stretched elastic. All right, so I've gathered both of my sleeves and now it fits. So I'm going to take this to my machine and sew the elastics on both. And you do need to help it through the machine, because obviously when you're pulling on the elastic, it doesn't allow the machine to feed it through. So the beginning is really tricky actually, and I don't have a good tip for that. But after that, I grab onto it and feed it through. when I get near the end, I hold the end of it, the elastic, to match the end of the fabric, and so it'll be exact when I finish. All right, guys, we have some lost footage here, but the next few steps are pretty simple. You want to sew the side seams on the sleeves, press them flat, then gather the caps and set the sleeves into the armholes. I've hand stitched the sleeves into the armholes using a baste stitch. I recently saw a YouTube video sewing where they said that when trying to sew gathered fabric, there was one step that it was best not to skip, and that was to baste stitch the seam by hand. Even when you put a lot of pins, you just have better control over how the fabric places itself if you do this by hand. I wish I had known this when I did the skirt and for the many projects I did before this one, where I did a sloppy job at sewing gathered fabric. Off camera, I will come back and machine stitch the sleeves and the dress will be truly finished. I call this dress my Bavarian dress because it is reminiscent of the dress that Ingrid wears in the 7th album of the Yoko Tsuno series by Roger Leloup. Fun fact, that book was published in 1977. What I have is a reprint. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like. And finally, the reveal.